Now available in paperback and e-readers, Isis, Samurai Goddess. The goddess next door takes on kung fu killers in this action-packed martial arts Isis series adventure. Get Isis, Samurai Goddess in paperback and e-readers today. I'd been meaning to make a video about Netflix's reboot of She-Ra, Princess of Power for a while now. However, the reason why I wasn't able to was because I got caught up making videos about all of the trailers for movies like Shazam and Aquaman and Godzilla, and talking about issues related to what was going on at DC Comics as related to Dan Didio returning to power at DC Comics. And I really wanted to talk about this She-Ra reboot from Netflix because this She-Ra reboot is a complete mockery of the original source material. Now, I grew up with She-Ra and He-Man back in the mid 1980s, and I see nothing that captures the spirit of Filmation's classic He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, or She-Ra, Princess of Power, in that image that was presented to everyone to promote the new series. Instead, what I see are social justice warriors trying to take a classic 1980s property and trying to make it fit their narrative. Because when I take a look at that promotional image of She-Ra, I see nothing more than an attempt to masculinize an iconic heroine and an attempt to try to interject identity politics into a character that did not need identity politics injected into it. Because as a guy who used to watch She-Ra, Princess of Power on Cubo a couple of years ago, I can honestly tell you that She-Ra was a strong heroine, and she was a strong heroine because she had the strength of character that matched the physical power she used. When it came down to Adora, she was a good friend, and what made her a leader was her ability to bring people together to fight against the Horde, because the original Princess Adora was a force captain in the Horde, and then when He-Man brought her the sword in the classic two-part episode, that's when she decided to take a leadership role in the Great Rebellion and work with them towards overthrowing the Horde. So all of that great story has been tossed because social justice warriors want to put their own feminist narrative on She-Ra, and them trying to put their own feminist narrative on She-Ra, what they're doing is they make a complete mockery of the source material. And the reason why they make a complete mockery of the source material is, one, because the creators did not take any time to pick up some DVDs and watch the original She-Ra, Princess of Power cartoon, nor did they go out here and do any sort of research on their material, because I can see that from the image they presented of this She-Ra, Princess of Power, because it looked like to me, again, what they were trying to do was masculinize this She-Ra that they were creating, and what they wanted to do was masculinize them because they did not want She-Ra to be a sexually attractive woman. They did not want her to be feminine, and they wanted to take away from people what they call the male gaze, not understanding that in fantasy, people want to see attractive women, and they want to see attractive women because in addition to She-Ra, Princess of Power being entertaining, it was supposed to be an escape that allowed people to come into this fantasy world of Etheria and see why they should care about the struggles between the rebellion and the Horde. But we're not going to see that because social justice warriors decided they don't want us to escape to a fantasy world. They want to take us to the real world. And She-Ra's fantasies now are known as a backyard fantasy because they decided they wanted to change She-Ra's story again to fit their narrative. And the new creator of this She-Ra it looks like really what she wants to do is turn She-Ra into a Mary Sue character. And what a Mary Sue is a person trying to make a character like themselves instead of letting that character be that character. And that's really a slap in the face to all of the Masters of the Universe fans and the Princess of Power fans who grew up with He-Man and She-Ra, because all of us who grew up with these characters, we know what these characters were about, and we don't need somebody trying to make this character their own, because that's selfish and narcissistic for someone to take someone like She-Ra and Princess Adora and turn them into this Mary Sue, which is designed to project their ideas onto this character. And that's not really something a talented creator does. A talented creator does not have to project their ideas onto a character. They can tell great stories about that character while allowing that character to be themselves. And I'm not seeing She-Ra being allowed to be herself because this creator is not being objective. They're sitting there talking about how they are a group of women who can create characters, but no, a great creator allows a character to have their own voice, have their own personality, and be themselves. Yes, the artistic style may change from the original Filmation style animation to any other different style, but the heart and the spirit of that character are going to remain true to themselves in the same way many of these characters remain true to themselves in the 2003 Masters of the Universe series. Because yes, the 2003 Masters of the Universe series was a very different looking He-Man, but the spirit of He-Man was seen in those designs, even and in the animated series that I believe only lasted one season. It was very similar to the 1980s Masters of the Universe and Princess of Power cartoons, and the toys from that line captured the spirit of the original designs in them, just like the same way the Masters of the Universe Classics figures capture the spirit, of the Filmation line in them and the original Mattel line. Everything remains consistent in terms of design. So when I look at this new concept, I don't see anything that stays true to the spirit of the original stories or even follows the original stories. All I see is a group of feminists trying to take a iconic character and trying to reshape them to fit a narrative for identity politics, where they take away this woman, She-Ra's sexuality, take away her attractiveness, and take away her beauty, and then try to say that they're doing this because this is supposed to be a tomboy. And that argument falls completely apart because as the creator of ISIS, I created the ISIS character to be a tomboy. And a tomboy does not mean that you want to be masculine. What a tomboy is a girl who likes to do male things. And girls who like to do male things, yes, they know that they're female, and the whole thing with them is they want to do these male things and they want to hang out with these guys because they want to earn the respect of men. And that's something that these creators are not really, I believe, putting in their story because they don't really understand what a tomboy is, nor do they understand that a tomboy, again, yes, they like doing male things and they like getting involved with activities with other males. But again, they know that they're female and they know that they are a part of a hierarchy, and as a part of a hierarchy, they know to after they learn to get these men's respect, they know that they have to submit to the male authority, and that's all part of the relationship between tomboys and girls, and I mean tomboys and men and tomboys and girls. And this is something that I believe that the creators of this show weren't thinking about when they were working on relationship dynamics, because I don't see clearly any research into different aspects of relationships dynamics. I see an attempt to try to masculinize a feminine character and an attempt to try to talk about how she's going to be this tomboy who escapes through these adventures. And again, that argument falls flat, because when I was writing the Isis character, again, this is a character who was a tomboy, and she worked with guards and she worked with princes, and she worked with those guys. But again, it was all about earning their respect and having the strength of character to go through things like the Isis character went through in Amari's Revenge, when she was a slave and she was taking this beating that the princess Amari had told the guards to give her, and she earned their respect because she took the beating, and that's what upset the princess in that story. And that's what tomboys are all about. They're all about earning men's respect. They want to get in these male activities because they want to show the men that they can carry their own weight. And that's something your feminist doesn't understand, because your feminist is all about promoting the idea of the victim, and they're all about promoting all of these identity politics narratives to make people out to be victims. And that's not what She-Ra was all about. What She-Ra was all about the Princess of Power being a helper and a support to the Great Rebellion. And as one of the leaders of the Great Rebellion, she was helping it out, because I think it was Queen Angela was the big leader in the thing, but She-Ra was like a supporter, and she was helping them overcome the Horde with her physical power. And what was really made her strong was her ability to think critically and her ability to solve problems, because that was one of the great strengths of Princess Adora and She-Ra, was that she was a great critical thinker, and she was a great tactician, and she was also a great friend. And that all that stuff, I believe, was lost on many of the SJWs and feminists who, when they were creating this reboot, and because they could not really delve deep into this material and really understand what it was about, this is where they came up with this whole masculinized, tomboyish She-Ra, but they didn't really dig deep into things to understand things as related to the original Masters of the Universe source material, nor did they understand to try to do things as related to tomboy relationships with males and females. When I went out here to do ISIS, I studied male-female relationships, I studied tomboy relationships, and I also started studying other tomboy characters like Peppermint Patty, because the whole thing with the Peppermint Patty Charlie Brown dynamic was that Peppermint Patty really liked Charlie Brown, but Charlie Brown could not really see her for who she was. He thought that she was just some other guy or something, or some weird person, and he didn't see that she was actually interested in him because the way she came off and the way she approached it. But what she was trying to do was she was trying to earn Charlie Brown's respect, and that's what they don't understand. It's like there's the difference between like and respect. And the tomboy, yes, they like you, but they want to earn your respect so they can have a deeper relationship with you. And that's something that a lot of people don't understand about the whole tomboy dynamic. And when I look at this new She-Ra, I don't see anything of substance related to it. I see a lot of flash about trying to do something new and different, but I don't see anything as related to substance, because people who want to do something new and different and fresh, they understand that they have to dig deep into the material to find out what really makes that material great. They have to find out what's core as related to the story, what's related to the source material, and they'll sit there and do like I did back in the day when I was watching old She-Ra episodes on Cubo, and just start sitting there dissecting and deconstructing these episodes to find your story points, your story ideas, and your plot points, because that's what a good creator does. They're not just going to say, I'm going to make an adaptation of this, but they're going to say, I want to make an adaptation that stays true to the original story and captures the spirit of the original stories so that readers and viewers can find out what's great about this character. And I don't see anything that's great about She-Ra in that new image from the new Netflix series. All I see are social justice warriors trying to project their identity politics onto a character that did not need identity politics projected onto her, because She-Ra is a strong heroine, and she's always been a strong heroine, because not only does She-Ra have physical strength, but what her greatest attributes were her ability to be a great friend to many of the people in the Great Rebellion and be a great supporter of the Great Rebellion as someone who knew her position in that rebellion and someone who had the strength of character to do what was right in a situation, because her strength of character was one of the strongest points of the character, because the Adora character was a force captain in the Horde. However, she wanted to do what was right, and that's why she joined the rebellion. And that's where her strength of character came from. And that's one of the things that I liked the most about the She-Ra character. And I don't believe we're going to see that in Backyard Fantasies like what they're proposing for this series. And the whole thing with Etheria was that was what one of the strong points of the series. And if you take Etheria out of the things and Eternia out of it, you really take a lot out of what She-Ra is all about, because the whole thing was the Horde and Skeletor's group. They were the major threat in these series, and without them there being in the story, you really don't have the conflict to really drive anything. So I look at this whole new She-Ra series, and I see something that really is, again, a slap in the face to all of those Masters of the Universe fans, all those Princess of Power fans, and really makes a mockery of what this character is. Because if you're going to go out here and make something based on an iconic character like She-Ra or He-Manm from the 1980s, I believe you need to go and do some research, and I believe you need to sit down and really think about telling these stories in ways that make them fresh for the next generation, and not look to just interject identity politics onto characters where there is no need for identity politics. She-Ra was a great character, and if you wanted to pay homage to this character, you needed to learn to treat this character with the respect she deserves. And that's something I would have done if I were in charge of a She-Ra series, is I would want to find ways to make this character fresh for the 21st century while staying true to the concepts that made it great in the 20th century. If you'd like to try some of my SJS Direct publications, like the ISIS series, the E-Steam series, The Temptation of John Haynes, or the Spinsterella trilogy, you may do so by clicking the link to Amazon.com in the description box. And if you want to help me make more videos like this, you can donate to my Patreon by clicking the link in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Coming this fall from SJS Direct, E-Steam The Sands of Time. It's action, adventure, and romance in ancient Egypt in this fantasy flashback E-Steam series adventure. Pre-order E-Steam The Sands of Time today on Amazon.com.